17th December 1995. A Soviet-designed Antonov An-26 cargo plane takes off from Karachi, Pakistan, bound for Dhaka, Bangladesh. After taking off from Karachi, the plane flies through Indian airspace for several hours and lands at Varanasi Airport in India at 5:45 p.m. for refueling. After standing here for about 4 hours, at 10 p.m., the plane once again takes off towards its designated route. But when the plane was over Gaya in Bihar, it suddenly changes its course. The plane heads towards Purulia, a very backward district in West Bengal, and as soon as it reaches over Purulia, it starts flying very low. On that dark night, when everyone was fast asleep, 3 heavy wooden boxes were dropped from the plane by parachute over villages like Jalda, Gatgang, Belamu, and Maramu. After dropping the wooden boxes, the plane stops at Kolkata's Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose International Airport for refueling and then proceeds towards its destination. The next morning, on December 18, 1995, when a farmer from Purulia reached his field, he saw something strange lying on a mound in the distance. Driven by curiosity when he goes closer, he is left completely stunned. He immediately runs to the nearby Jalda police station and informs the officers about this astonishing sight. He had seen those same wooden boxes that had been dropped by parachute in the fields the previous night. These boxes were filled with such a large quantity of dangerous weapons that a small-scale war could have been started with them. These included 10 RPG-7 rocket launchers, 300 AK-47s, 25 9mm pistols, 2 7.62mm sniper rifles, 2 night vision binoculars, 100 grenades, 23,800 rounds of 7.62mm ammunition, 6,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition, and 100 anti-tank grenades. But by the time the police arrived, the villagers had already opened the boxes and hidden the weapons in their homes. The police were stunned by the scene they witnessed. The incident was immediately reported to government agencies and a large police force was deployed at the scene. After that, an announcement is made over loudspeakers that anyone who has taken weapons from those boxes should immediately return them to the police. House-to-house searches are conducted and many AK-47 rifles are recovered from villages like Gatgang, Belamu, Maramu, Pagdo, and Baradi. The news spread like wildfire across the country after it was reported by the media. From the state government to the central,
over Jodhpur, Jalda area, Purulia district of West Bengal.
The plane deviates from the approved flight path and drops its deadly cargo over Jalda in Purulia district.
Kim Davy, the Danish mastermind behind the dumping of a plane load of weapons in West Bengal.
The plane's crew members have admitted that they dropped weapons for a specific group in West Bengal. There were no answers on whom these arms were meant for. Who paid for these arms? What was the bigger conspiracy behind the consignment?
the Purulia arms drop case created an uproar across the entire country. Since this case was extremely serious and related to national security, security agencies immediately began investigating it, but despite their best efforts, they came up empty-handed. The agency could only surmise that these weapons must have been dropped from a plane. But which plane was it? Where did it come from? And where was it now? They had no clue about any of this. At that time, the Congress party was in power and P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. Such a major lapse in national security caused an uproar from the streets to the parliament. Opposition leaders like Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Sushma Swaraj began demanding a special session in parliament on this issue. The pressure on the government kept mounting, but the security agencies were unable to find any leads. While the entire country was in turmoil, the Antonov An-26 cargo plane that had dropped the weapons was quietly parked in Thailand. That night, there were 8 people on board the plane. Among them was a Danish citizen, Kim Davy, and a British arms dealer, Peter Bleach. There was also Deepak Manikarnik, an Indian origin resident of Singapore, and 5 Latvian crew members. The mastermind behind this entire incident was Kim Davy, whose real name was Niels Holck. When he saw the news of the chaos unfolding in India, he realized that the weapons had not been dropped at the intended location and had fallen into the hands of the police. But despite all this, Davy decides that he will return to Karachi by taking the Indian route. His decision was like jumping into the jaws of death because at that time, the entire country of India was searching for that plane. but for some reason, he was convinced that he would not get caught. With this hope, only 4 days after the Purulia arms drop incident, on December 22nd, he once again enters India aboard the same Russian cargo plane AN-26 with his companions. The plane lands in Chennai, refuels, and then takes off towards Mumbai on its way to Karachi. But this time, the situation was different. After the Purulia case, Indian security agencies and the Indian Air Force were facing a lot of criticism. That's why everyone was on high alert. At this point, as the AN-26 plane was heading towards Mumbai, a junior NCO working in the Indian Air Force's movement liaisoning unit noticed that an aircraft was moving from Chennai to Mumbai without clearance. The junior NCO immediately informed the Air Force about this, after which 2 MiG-21 aircraft were dispatched from Bhuj, Gujarat to intercept it. Intercepting it mid-air, they surrounded the Antonov plane. The plane begins to descend at Mumbai airport. Kim Devi becomes nervous. He takes out some papers from his briefcase, tears them into small pieces, burns them, and then takes them to the bathroom to flush them away. He also tears up 4 floppy disks and sets them on fire. By the time he finished this task, the plane's wheels had already touched the runway at Mumbai airport. This time, there were a total of 7 people on the plane: Kim Devi, Peter Bleach, and 5 Latvian crew members. The 8th person, Deepak Manikan, was not with them this time. After forcing such a suspicious plane to land in Mumbai, there should have been a heavy presence of security forces there. But surprisingly, there was neither any police present nor any other security force. It seemed as if no one at the airport even knew about this plane. When, after some time, 2 airport officials arrived, they acted with such negligence that it was unimaginable. Instead of questioning the crew of this suspicious plane and detaining them, they started demanding a landing fee for landing the plane there. It was as if Kim Devi had been waiting for just such an opportunity. He agrees to pay the fee and, along with the official, heads towards the airport terminal in a car to make the payment. But after that, he never returns to the plane and disappears from Bombay airport. The most astonishing thing was that when he disappeared from the airport, officials from the IB and NIW were also present there. Even after all this had happened, the police only received the first information about the incident when an IB officer called Mumbai Police Commissioner R.D. Tyagi at around 2:40 a.m. After that, the police arrive at the scene and search the plane. What the police and other officials find during the search leaves them utterly shocked. There were still several sniper rifles on the plane, which were immediately seized. At that moment, Kim Devi's associate Peter Bleach confesses that this is the same AN-26 cargo plane from which the arms were dropped in Purulia. After this, Peter Bleach and all 5 crew members are arrested. After these arrests, such revelations were about to come out in the Purulia arms drop case that the uproar in the country was only going to intensify. Initially, the Purulia arms drop case was being handled by the West Bengal State Police. But the case caused such a huge commotion across the country that it was soon handed over to the CBI. The CBI interrogated all 6 people caught from the AN-26 aircraft rigorously. The 5 Latvian crew members did not have much information about the case, so the CBI did not learn anything significant from them. But British arms dealer Peter Bleach had a lot of information to offer the CBI. Hoping to save himself by cooperating, he begins telling the CBI his story from the very beginning. He reveals that the mastermind behind the entire operation was Kim Devi. Kim Devi had met him in Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, in August 1995, about 4 months before the Purulia arms drop. Here, Kim Devi told him that he wanted a large quantity of weapons for an extremist organization in India. According to the initial planning, Ditija 300 AK-47 rifles, 250,000 rounds of ammunition, 100 anti-tank grenades, 6,000 bullets for 9mm Makarov pistols, 100 offensive grenades, 25 PM-79 anti-personnel landmines, some RPG-7 rocket launchers, Dragunov rifles with optical sights, and some night vision equipment were included. Peter Bleach was not only an arms dealer, but he was also connected with the British intelligence agency MI5. He tells the CBI that after meeting Kim Devi, he informed MI5 that a large consignment of weapons was soon going to India. MI5 probably wanted to see what was going to happen next. That's why Peter Bleach was told to let things proceed as they were. But at the same time, MI5 and the British Defense Ministry did not want Peter Bleach to supply the weapons. So Peter Bleach refused to provide weapons to Kim Devi. Later, Kim Devi bought weapons from a company called Kintex in Bulgaria using a forged end-user certificate, which stated that these weapons were meant for the Bangladeshi army. These certificates bore the signature of Muhammad Shobit Ali Bhuyan, a retired Major General of Bangladesh and the Principal Staff Officer of the Bangladesh Armed Forces Division. Finally, after finalizing the arms deal, Peter Bleach helped Kim Davy arrange for a Soviet-designed AN-6 cargo plane, for which about $250,000 were paid. For this mission, they hired 5 Latvian crew members. Peter Bleach told the CBI that Kim Davy had shared most of the details of his plan only with him. He had told the other 5 Latvian crew members a false story, claiming that it was a humanitarian aid mission and that with the permission of the Indian government, they were delivering clothes and other relief materials to poor people in India. Once the crew members were completely satisfied, on December 12, 1995, the plane took off from Burgas Airport in Bulgaria, loaded with about 4 tons of weapons, ammunition, and explosives. Their destination was Dhaka, Bangladesh, but before that, the plane traveled through Turkey and Iran to reach Karachi, Pakistan, where it stayed from December 13th to 17th. It was here that Kim Davy brought along Deepak Manikarnan, an Indian origin resident of Singapore, who was to take charge of logistics. On December 17, 1995, when the plane was parked at Karachi Airport and all preparations had been completed, even then the plane crew had no idea that the aircraft was actually loaded with more than 4 tons of weapons and ammunition. But on December 17th, when the aircraft took off from Karachi, midway through the journey, Kim Davy started opening the boxes and loading the weapons onto pallets. At that very moment, those 5 Latvian crew members realized that the plane was not filled with humanitarian aid supplies, but with weapons. But Kim Davy somehow managed to convince them to keep flying the plane on its designated course and to cooperate. Peter Bleach later tells the CBI that when the plane left Karachi and was flying through Indian airspace, he felt certain that Indian intelligence agencies must have gotten wind of it. Nothing happened. The plane flew for several hours in Indian airspace and reached Varanasi. But no one intercepted it, nor was it caught in Varanasi. Peter Bleach says that when the plane took off from Varanasi as well, he was afraid that the plane would be shot down. But even that didn't happen, and the plane flew over West Bengal and dropped the weapons. No rockets came, and no police showed up either. Their only mistake was that, in the darkness of night, the pilot got the location wrong and the weapons were dropped far from where they were supposed to be. That's why the weapons ended up in the hands of the villagers, and that's where all the trouble began. Later, Peter Bleach explains that the plane's final destination was Dhaka, but at that time, they hadn't received landing permission from Dhaka. So the plan was changed and the plane was finally landed in Phuket, Thailand. After this, the CBI asks Peter Bleach the most crucial question: who were these weapons actually for? The answer Peter Bleach gave to this question left everyone stunned. Peter Bleach reveals that these weapons were meant for the Anand Marg organization. Anand Marg is a socio-spiritual organization which was founded in 1955 by Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar. Although it has centers in many places across the country and the world, its main headquarters is in Anandanagar, Purulia. At the time when this entire incident took place, the CPIM government was in power in West Bengal. There was animosity between the CPIM and Anand Marg right from the beginning. The CPIM did not consider Anand Marg a spiritual organization, but rather a violent group, since Anand Marg was a cult whose members focused on inner happiness and would sometimes dance with things like human skulls. That is why the CPIM believed that the Anand Marg organization was working to spread unrest. At that time, everyone was surprised by the growing wealth and power of Anand Marg. Even the founder's wife, Uma Shankar, had left the organization and publicly stated that it was involved in illegal activities. Due to these allegations, during the national emergency in 1975, Indira Gandhi's government banned Anand Marg. However, later in 1977, the Janata Party government lifted this ban. But the enmity between CPIM and Anand Marg remained unchanged, and this hostility took a horrific turn when, on April 30th, 1982, a mob brutally killed 17 Anand Marg monks in the Tiljala area of Kolkata, including 2 nuns. But the CPIM government did not allow any of the culprits to be arrested. It is said that the mob was incited by spreading the rumor that Anand Marg members kidnapped children. After this incident, Anand Marg directly accused CPIM of the attack, while CPIM distanced itself from the matter, calling it a conspiracy to defame them. In this way, this decades-old struggle in Purulia was simmering like a volcano, ready to erupt at any moment. The followers of Anand Marg began to feel that it was very important to respond to Jyoti Basu's government. According to Peter Bleach, perhaps this is why Kim Devi brought these weapons for Anand Marg, so that they could be used to fight against the CPIM. All the claims that were made were truly astonishing. Peter Bleach, the CBI begins investigating all these claims. After this, 11 members of Anand Marg are arrested and interrogated strictly, but nothing significant is discovered from them, so they are released. After this, the CBI conducts raids on Anand Marg centers in Purulia, Asansol, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Ranchi, Giridih, and Salem. During these raids, the CBI found human skulls and other such items which further increased suspicion towards Anand Marg. After several months of investigation, in 1996, the CBI files a charge sheet regarding this case in Kolkata's City Sessions Court. In the charge sheet, the CBI expresses suspicion towards the Anand Marg organization, suggesting that the weapons were brought for them. The CBI tells the court that they found photographs of a white building in Purulia taken from the plane, and possibly this building is a property of the Anand Marg organization, which Anand Marg used to train members of its unit called VSS. Apart from this, the CBI described Niels Holk, alias Kim Devi, as the mastermind of the entire plan, and also held Peter Bleach and the 5 Latvian crew members responsible for it. Although Peter Bleach had told the CBI everything in the hope that he would be released, the CBI still held him equally guilty in the conspiracy. After this, the trial in this case went on for quite some time, and in the year 2000, the court delivered its verdict. The court found all 5 Latvian crew members and Peter Bleach guilty in this case, and sentenced them to lifetime imprisonment. However, the court did not accept the CBI's claims regarding Anand Marg as valid. During the hearing, the CBI was unable to prove any link between this case and Anand Marg in court. They had neither any solid documentary proof nor any significant eyewitnesses. Therefore, the court did not consider Anand Marg to be directly involved in the arms drop conspiracy. After Anand Marg was given a clean chit by the court, its spokesperson Bhavesh Nand Avadhuta said that this verdict shows that false allegations were made against us. Instead of uncovering the real truth, the CBI tried to frame us. After this, he also questioned the Indian authorities, asking how the main accused in this case, Kim Devi, managed to escape from a high-security zone like Mumbai airport. Who helped him? The Anand Marg organization, calling this a matter of national security, demands a thorough investigation. But after this, the investigation into the case loses momentum. Even those who had been sentenced to life imprisonment were released. By then, the 5 Latvian citizens had acquired Russian citizenship, and as a result, at Russia's request, President K.R. Narayanan granted them a special pardon and released them in July 2000. That year, Russian President Vladimir Putin was scheduled to visit India. That is why the Indian government took this step as a gesture of goodwill. 4 years later, in February 2004, at the request of the British government, President APJ Abdul Kalam also pardoned Peter Bleach's sentence, and he was released as well. Now, all the people involved in this case had been released, and the mastermind Kim Devi was still on the run. He had escaped and returned to Denmark, there for many years. Attempts were made to extradite Kim Devi. In 2010, the Danish government even approved her extradition. But in 2011, the Danish High Court rejected this extradition, stating that her human rights would be violated in Indian jails and she would be mistreated. Kim Devi, who had remained silent for about 15 years, comes forward in 2011 and gives an interview. In this interview, he makes such sensational claims that everyone is shocked to hear them. When he was asked who the weapons dropped in Purulia were for, he directly names Anand Marg. He goes on to tell his whole story, saying that he had been associated with Anand Marg and working as a social worker for many years before the Purulia arms drop case. During this time, he developed close friendships with many members of Anand Marg. He was concerned about the increasing attacks and violence by CPIM against the members of Anand Marg. That is why he decided to procure weapons for their safety, and this is the reason the arms drop was planned. After this, he dropped another big mystery bomb. He reveals that India's intelligence agency RAW was involved in the entire case, and that the Indian government was already aware of the arms drop. At that time, the Congress government was in power at the center, and they wanted the Anand Marg group to use these weapons to start a rebellion against the communist government of West Bengal, so that the failure of the Bengal government could be blamed and president's rule could be imposed in the state. However, the Indian government completely denied Kim Devi's allegation. The CBI also stated that no government agency was involved in this incident and that Kim Devi is trying to mislead the case and is doing all this to avoid extradition. But Kim Davy did not stop there. He wrote a book called They Called Me Terrorist, in which he claims that after leaving Bombay airport on December 22nd, he spent a night in Pune. After that, he reached Delhi, where Bihar MP Papu Yadav and CBI Joint Director J.K. Dutt met him at Papu Yadav's official residence and arranged for his escape to Nepal. According to Kim Davy, when he entered Indian airspace with a plane full of weapons, as per the plan, Indian authorities deliberately switched off the Air Force radars for some time so that the weapons could be dropped without any hindrance. This was a very serious allegation against the Indian government. Peter Bleach had also stated during earlier interrogations that when Kim Davy first approached him about buying weapons, he immediately informed the British intelligence agency MI5 and the Ministry of Defence about it. Then MI5 informed the Indian security agencies about this on the 25th of November 1995, even before the weapons were dropped, and the information included the exact location where the weapons were to be dropped. After this, MI5 told Peter to let things proceed as they were, because the Indian government wanted the plane to enter Indian airspace with the weapons and Kim Davy on board, so that Indian authorities could capture the aircraft and interrogate those on board to find out who the weapons were intended for. But it was sent to the governments of West Bengal and Bihar by ordinary mail. The West Bengal government only learned about it after the incident had already occurred. In such a situation, the question remained as to who the weapons were actually dropped for. A related question also arose regarding the role of the Indian government and Indian agencies. How was it possible that this plane loaded with weapons traveled in Indian airspace for more than a day and still did not appear on the radar? Moreover, how did Kim Davy manage to escape from Mumbai airport despite the presence of RAW and IB officials? When precise answers to questions are not found, that's when theories are born. In such a situation, the very first theory that emerges is that the weapons were brought in specifically for Anand Marg. But Anand Marg not only denied the claim about the weapons, but also rejected the assertion that Kim Davy was ever a member of their organization. According to them, they did not know any such person, and all of this was done merely to defame their organization. Meanwhile, according to the second theory, international forces were behind this. According to this, if these weapons were meant to be used for some minor rebellion, then what was the need for heavy weapons like rocket launchers? The kind of weapons that were dropped in Purulia are usually in the hands of a country's army. Even before this, rebel groups had caused disturbances in various parts of the country several times. But such advanced weaponry had never been used in those incidents. That's why many people believe that after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, America wanted to establish its dominance in Asia. That's why it is believed that the US devised this plan to support armed rebellion against the Indian government. It is believed that Devi was a dirty asset of the CIA, and because of her connections with the CIA, she continued to receive protection from Danish authorities even after being declared wanted by Interpol. Along with this, many people also claim that Pakistan was involved in this incident because at Karachi airport, the AN-26 received help services from a Pakistani aviation company which was also connected to a CIA aviation company. Additionally, according to one theory, these weapons were being sent for the Sri Lankan Tamil rebel organization LTTE. At the same time, there is also a claim that the weapons were meant to be dropped for extremist groups in Bangladesh. But that night, the pilot made a slight mistake regarding the location and instead of Bangladesh, dropped the weapons in Purulia, West Bengal. In this way, nearly 30 years have passed since the Purulia arms drop case, but the questions remain unanswered to this day. The correct answers lie with Kim Davy, and only he can reveal the real truth. But since he remains out of India's reach, he has continued to blame India for this incident. The Indian government has not given up its efforts to bring Kim Davy to India. In 2017, at the request of the Indian government, the Danish Attorney General once again filed an appeal for extradition, but the Danish court rejected it, stating that the condition of Indian prisons does not meet European norms. In 2018 as well, during talks with the Prime Minister of Denmark, Prime Minister Modi raised the issue of Kim Davy's extradition, but there was not much further progress in the matter. The Purulia incident is such a dark chapter in India's security, which perhaps independent India,